Ladies and gentlemen, this is Joe's Classic Video Games back with another cool radio repair video for you this evening. Now, normally we do arcade game, pinball machine, and jukebox repair videos, but on the weekend, sometimes on Sunday, I like to work on old radios, old clocks, stuff like that. So today, we're going to work on this little cheapo Westinghouse AM radio. But also I want to see if maybe I can check out one of these ammeters here. Here. I've been wanting to do this. Basically, whenever you're working on old radios, it's good to be able to see how many amps the thing is drawing, because if it starts drawing a lot of amps, that could be a sign that there's a short in it, or it's almost definitely a sign that there's a short in it, and it can burn stuff up. So I've been working on them with a Variac. But I wanted to get an ammeter too, so that I could check the amperage as I work on them. So I ordered a couple old ones. I was going to use this Simpson, and so I made an offer on it. And the guy took my offer, so I ended up buying it. But at the same time, I decided I want to kind of go with this one. The reason I like this one is because you have a little bit of a problem whenever you're trying to get one of these to work on old radios. The little radios like this use less than an amp. This is a tube radio, but it's just a little, kitchen radio, or just the cheapest possible tube radio. And it probably uses less than 1 amp. So you kind of need a meter that can show less than an amp, pretty accurately, instead of it being down here and it's hard to read. I've got paint on me. I've been painting. But at the same time, if you work on these old radios, sometimes they'll run like 3 amps. So you kind of need one that will work up to about 1 amp, and then you kind of need one that'll work up to 3 or 4 amps, So on this one, for instance, it has different settings. So you can, if you have it wired in series with your load to here, it's going to use the scale as if it is a 1 amp scale. So if it did that, you would use this 0, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. And that's how many, hundredths of an amp. Or you get what I'm saying. It's a 0 to 10 scale, 0 to 1, basically. And then you could also wire it to this one. So for between here and here, series, and it would be 2.5 amps. So then you would use the top scale. Or you could wire it from here to here, and it would be 5. You get the point. Or 10. Or I think that one's 25. Okay. So this one is a variable ammeter, and the way they do it is there are resistors in here. I guess there's a transformer in here, but essentially a resistor that divides down how much amperage actually goes through the meter. So it's something like, I don't know all the math, but if say it's a 1 amp meter, so you run 1 amp through it, it'll go all the way to 1. But if you put a resistor over here and run 1 amp through it, since the amp of power is going through the meter and the resistor, it halves it, or depending on what resistor you use, it changes it. And so if it was a certain number that only sent half the resistance through the meter, well, now it would take 2 amps to make the meter go all the way up, because a lot of it's burning through the resistor, right? So they have these ones that are set up like that. This one, the reason that I decided on this one is because it's even a little more. So it's got this. It has a selector. So you can have it on low, medium, high, SC. I think that's shunt control, I think. So a shunt is that resistor that you're putting in parallel with it. So if let's say you're running the, radio, let's say this thing's going to draw an amp, and you run it through here. You've got 1 wire coming in, and then that going out in series to the radio. If you also hooked up a shunt right here, a resistor, it would change it, you know, and there's a mathematic formula to figure all that out. I'm not going to do that, but I like that it had the low, medium, and high. That's as easy to change as that, you know. Now, who knows if it works? It probably does. So the low scale would be up to 1 amp. See, I kind of like that. 0.2, 0.3, 0.4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 1. Okay. And then the medium would be if I'm working on something 0.5, 0.75, 1, 1.25, 1.5, 1.75, 2, 2.25, 2.5. So up to 2.5 amps would be on medium. And then on high, 1, 1.5, 2, 2.5, 3, 3.5, 4, 4.5, 5. So in this 1 meter, I can test everything from everything up to 5 amps, and then I can also back it down to where it's only up to 1 amp. So I think this one will actually be more useful. I just bought that one because I'd already made the guy an offer on it, and I thought it was cool. Made in the USA by Simpson Electric Company, Chicago, Illinois. Back in the day. Boy, it's beautiful, isn't it? Got a little bit of area here where it got a little toasty. Looks like it might have got charred a little bit. So it could have been that they were permanently used this to test like 25 amps and it just was running some juice through there. These little things. You'd think, though, if that was true, that this one would be messed up, too. These little things spin out to allow you to attach a blade, I guess, or a wire. Oh, yeah, you just put the wire through it. Boy, that's cool. So cool. All right, so this one's pretty sweet. This one, let's see if they're the same, probably, right? I bet it's a standard thing. No, this one doesn't have the little things. So this one would be more of a terminal. Or you could just smash the wire real good. I'm sure all you engineers would love if I did that. Okay, so we're going to use those whenever we get up to trying out this Westinghouse. So this Westinghouse, let me show you it. Beautiful little simple radio. Cheap, 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 and more cheap. This was probably the cheapest thing they ever made. Westinghouse probably never made anything cheaper than this. So Donnie, my brother Donnie, if you haven't seen his channel, you should. He called me up and said, hey, or he texted me, hey, there's a radio down here. You want me to buy it? It was $12. And I said, yeah, that's cool. Get it. So then he took it up to the cash register and the lady said, did you plug it in? And he said, no. And she said, we tried to plug it in a little while ago and it didn't make any noise. And Donnie said, oh, okay. And she said, you better call and make sure they want it because it doesn't make any noise. You know, she's got basically, you know, acting like we're idiots. And so Donnie calls me and he says, hey, the lady said it doesn't work. You still want it? I said, yep. He said, okay, click. Here's the back. It's in very nice shape, in my opinion. I can't believe it's not cracked. Well, I can't believe it's barely cracked. So I think we're going to pull the whole thing off. So, like I said, it looks pretty good. It's got the, check this out. It's a little 4-tube radio. It says, remove 2 screws to service, printed in the USA. Westinghouse Electric Corporation, Television Radio Division. Apparently there was an aqua, a shadow white, and a carnation pink. So this must be the shadow white. Very good looking radio, just very simple. This back cover is equipped with a safety interlock to prevent dangerous electrical shock. Do not tamper with it or attempt to defeat its purpose. To service the tubes, remove the back cover completely. Right, so the safety interlock is, I think this slides on some stuff. So whenever the cover comes off, it unplugs it. But as soon as the cover is off, you can see why the radio doesn't work. Someone has stolen 3 of the tubes. I would imagine that they probably got knocked around at some point and were rolling around in there. They may have even been broken. So somebody, you know, would have pulled the broken tubes out. So, yeah, that would be why it's not working. All right, so I'm trying to start a new thing. This is called a couplet. But I'm going to call it a couplet and act like I'm better than everybody. People do that to me all the time. They say I don't pronounce things right. So I'm just going to call this a couplet. Look, it's got a couplet in it. And I'll make that my thing. Now, this is basically an IC chip. This thing was probably made early 60s, if I was just guessing, 1960 or 1961, something like that. And this couplet is basically some resistors and maybe a cap or two built into it. Just a very cheap, inexpensive radio. You can see that this is a disc cap. Usually they don't go bad. We'll hope the couplet is all right. We've got a filter cap here that possibly we can just reform. And then another disc capacitor. And we have a little paper cap here. So just simple, simple, simple. They had figured out how to make them dirt cheap by this point. So let's pull out that tube and see how it looks and what it is. So it is a Westinghouse, probably the original tube, and it's a 12AV6. And if you look on the back, that appears to be what it needs in that position. So we're good there. We're missing the other 3, but I hopefully have them here. I was about to say I should have them, but you know, if I say that, I won't. So let me see if I can find the other 3, and then we'll test them all first, maybe. I don't think you really have to do that. You could just start it up and see if they work. But we'll test them just because there's not much to it, and we're not going to be replacing many caps. I'm looking at the schematics. It's an interesting design. I was just trying to figure out what that one cap is. C5, the paper cap, and it's this 0.047, which is kind of an across the line cap. It goes from the neutral side, which they switch a lot of times on these instead of the positive side. I guess it doesn't matter because it's not keyed, but a lot of times they have the switch on the neutral side. Something about it, they thought that it would interfere with the sound or something because it's on the volume. Well, I don't know. So anyway, you can see that the cap is tied to one side of the line here just after the switch, and then it's tied to the other side, but after that resistor. But it's across the two lines. So if that cap were to short, that would be really bad. So I'm going to replace that one. But I think we may try to see if we can just save the filter capacitors. One is 20 and one is 40. And you can see it's such a simple little circuit. It's got a 12AU6 converter and then one IF transformer. It's the typical 455. And then it's got a 12AV6 detector and first audio amp. And then it just runs through a cap to couple it to the output tube. So it's only got one IF stage. Just like the simplest possible radio. I don't know that it could even get any smaller than this. Oh, and the couplet. The couplet has 1, 2, 3 resistors in it and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 capacitors in it. So let's hope all those are fine. So talk about good timing. I did not plan this out, but I had someone contact me last week, a gentleman named Ron, who said that he had a bunch of vacuum tubes he wanted to send me. I told him that'd be great. You know, I could probably use them. And so I got this box in today that's full of vacuum tubes. So it'll be interesting to see if it's got any of the ones that we need. Now, the 35W4 is very common. It's in like every All-American 5 radio. The 50C5 also very common. The 12AV6 was the one that was in there. And the 12, I'm reading them off of there. The 12AU6 is also pretty common. So they might be in here. I don't know. We'll see. So let me open it up and see what all we've got. So there's a bunch of them. The whole box was full, and they're all individually wrapped in paper. And they do seem to be those little miniature ones that we need. Dear Ron, I hope some of these tubes work for you. I bought hundreds of different tubes at auction, and so hopefully can sell some and make a little. If you know what any might be worth, send me an email sometime. I have been doing a little research myself. Merry Christmas to all you guys and Happy New Year. Ron. P.S. I watch your brother Donnie also. Well, thank you, Ron. We appreciate that. I emailed him back already, and I can definitely use these. I have here in my office, I have a RCA tube tester cabinet. It's one of those old ones from the department stores. I'll do a whole video on that one of these days, but so I keep that tubes in that box, and I've also got some little tube caddies. I did a video repairing one of those. If you didn't see that, it was like one of the first amateur repair time videos. So yeah, I can definitely use them. So I appreciate that. Now, as far as the ones that are valuable, I don't really know. I've heard of two that are valuable, basically by watching Shango's channel. For those few of you that don't know about Shango, he's a really cool dude that works on a lot of vintage electronics and tons of radios, tons of TVs, things like that. And quite a character, very entertaining guy, very good at what he does, really knows his stuff. Just has an interesting attitude about repairing them. And I've seen on his channel, the Magic Eye ones are worth some money, which are the ones that glow whenever you're basically the circuit's in tune. The eye will close. They're green. I don't know the number of that one, though. I could look it up real easy, but those are definitely worth money. And then some of the 1-volt tubes are worth money, the ones that start with a 1. So if you look at one of these, like, let's see what this one is. This is a 6AU6. So a 6AU6 is a 6-volt tube. That's why it starts with 6. And like the 35W4 that we're looking for, that starts with 35. It's a 35-volt tube. So some of the ones that start with 1 are pretty valuable. Okay, so let me look through these and see if any of them are any of the ones that we need, and I'll let you know. Boy, it's a whole bunch of them, and about almost half of them are, oh, that's not the one. About half of them are 6AU6s. I'm looking for a 12AU6. This is the exact same tube, but it runs off 6 volts instead of 12 volts, so it won't work. But everything else on it's the same. And then the only one that was the 12 volts, a 12AU7, which is very useful too, very common. But we don't need it in this particular situation. Also, some of these are 6197s, which are useful in jukebox amplifiers. So I'll be able to use these at work. So all of these I'll be able to use. The 6-volt tubes, some radios use them, and they're just in all kinds of stuff. So they're very useful. But not the 3 that I need. There wasn't a 35W4 or a 50C5. I've got those though. So I actually found it's a Westinghouse radio. So I found a Westinghouse 50C5. If it works, we'll have to test it. And so the 35W4, I've got one of those here. And I don't have the 12AU6, which is real common. You'd think that I would have that. But from what I understand, a 12BA6 kind of works as a substitute. It's not perfect, but you can test with it, right? So I ordered some 12AU6s. They're on the way. By the end of the video, hopefully we'll have those. Boy, that guy better get in that truck. But we'll test it with this 12BA6 and see if we can get it to work. All right, I've got my handy Waiko Wande model 625 out. I got this from there was a local gentleman named Bob who did a lot of radio repair. I didn't know him, but I bought all of his stuff from his son. So I've got his tube tester, but I've got about 4 other tube testers too. But I really like this one because the guy built a box for it. So I did a whole video about that. If you didn't see it, go back and look on the channel. There's a whole playlist of all these amateur repair time videos on our channel. So this is the 50C5, but usually this kind of stuff keeps working. So let's see. What the crap? I had the selector not on 3. It was halfway between 3 and 4. That'll do it. And it says it's good, but I didn't adjust the line, actually. Do I need to adjust the line? I probably need to adjust the line. Okay, folks, the line has been adjusted. I've got it set up for the 50C5. And let's see what we got. Yeah, okay, so it's good. It's well into the good zone. Let's try. I've got another 50C5 laying here. Let's try it too. Well, now we have a conundrum. This one also tests good. But if you look, the filament is just barely glowing. That other one, the whole freaking tube's lit up. I wonder if that other one's got a short in it. So you can barely tell that one's on. No glow down here, but it's an RCA, so I mean, it's a slightly different design. All right, so this is the 12AV6. This is the only one that was still in it, and it is weak. And there's 3 parts to a 12AV6, and just the first test is very weak. So I'm going to swap in a new one and see if it tests better. It's the same thing. You can't hardly tell that the thing is on. Like, where is the glow? You can barely see it, but that part of it's testing good. All right, so let me keep working through it. All right, so the new 12AV6 tested great. The 35W4, I think this one's either all the way or nothing. So it's all the way, baby. It's a new one too. So that's 3 of them. So I don't have the 12AU6. I ordered some. So we'll test this 12BA6 and see if we can sub it in for now. All right, so these 12BA6s, I've got 4 of them, and they're all the same strange brand. I can't even read it. And they all test, they all seem new, and they all don't test good. So they all test like that. They're all hitting the same spot. So I don't know if it's the tube tester or what. Maybe that's just a slightly different version, or maybe all 4 of them suck. But we'll run with one of those since we don't have a 12AU6 yet. All right, so I cleaned it up a little bit, popped the 4 in there, and I changed the across the line cap that we were looking at. These things, they'll short, and if they short, you're basically connecting both sides of your line together. Boom. Fire. So this one's one of the safety caps where it basically, it's not supposed to short. It'll open up instead of shorting. So that's the only cap I'm going to replace. This freaking filter cap, I think, has got the job to survive. I think if I slowly bring it up, it'll reform. And we'll see. If it's got a bunch of hum, we'll swap it out. It should be real easy since it's on a PCB. You could just take that off and then just put the 2 caps, you know, straight down in the board and just have 2 electrolytic caps sticking up out of the board. It'd be real easy. But we'll see if we can get it to come up and see if it's got a lot of hum or not. So the first thing I'm going to do, though, I want to do the, I want to use the Variac, and I want to use the Ammeter. So I'm going to take this power cord that I've had laying around, an extension cord, and I'm going to cut the line. I don't need it anywhere near this long because I'm going to run this from this to the variac, so it doesn't need to be real long. And then one of the lines in between, I'm gonna have run through the ammeter. So that's my plan. All right, folks, I think I'm about ready to start. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking that looks like it could catch on fire. I've got a fire extinguisher handy, okay? That's first. Second, this is a prototype setup, you know, come on. I'll make it where it's safer next time. This is proof of concept. So I think the weak point is where the wire is hanging out right there. I don't know if that's in there good or not. Okay, so this is actually plugged in and on, but we're at 0 volts right now. You can hear it humming slightly. There is a 2 amp fuse, 2.5 amp fuse in it. All right, so it's plugged up, so it's got power into it. So when I turn that up, it's going to turn up the power coming through this line, which one side of the line is running through the ammeter. And then I have the radio plugged into that, running over to, yeah. So first thing I need to do, you know, I probably should have adjusted the 0 on that first. Let me do that first. All right, so I think I've got that on 0. There's actually 2 lines there. I think you're supposed to set it on that line that's a little bit up from the 0. But the problem that we've got is this is a 30-watt radio. And if my math is right, that means that it's only going to draw 0.25 amps, which is just going to be barely noticeable on this amp meter. But it should still be noticeable. So I'm going to turn it on, and we'll see if anything crazy happens. She's on, but remember this is still on 0 volts. So we'll turn it up, the volume up a little bit. I have no clue if we're anywhere near a channel. The tuning gang is turning just fine though. Okay, and then I'm gonna just slowly crank up the voltage. And we'll see if we get any movement here. I'm not gonna go high though. Yeah, we're getting some amperage. Did you see it move a little bit? All right, so we're on, let's put it on like 20 volts. We're on 20 volts. So hopefully what's happening is it's slowly waking up this capacitor. So I'm going to leave it on that for 3 or 4 minutes, and then we'll turn it up a little bit more. Okay, nothing has happened, and it's still down around like 0. So I'm going to crank it up to maybe like 45 volts. Lots of humming. Well, I've got the volume way up though. Yeah, that's probably not gonna be good. So with the volume all the way down, you've got that much humming. Yeah, it's not happy with that. We're at 50 volts. And you can already see that the filament is working a little bit. Well, I don't think this is going to work. We got too much hum. Well, that cap didn't reform at all, so I'm going to go ahead and swap it. It sucks because it's such a good looking cap, you know, but oh well, what can you do? It's only 2 caps. It's a 2150 and a 4150. So I've got a 22 and a 47. Okay, there's my 2 new caps in. Both of the negatives go to 1 lead, and then there were 2 holes, one for the 22 and one for the 47. Or the 20 and the 40, actually. And you can see this cap, although it looked really good. I thought the reason I wanted to leave it is because that thing looks brand new. Now, you know, what's going on inside doesn't really matter with how it looks, but it just looks so nice. I thought, let's leave it. Look what was under it. Oh, Oh, the whole thing was falling apart underneath, but I couldn't see it because it was on the bottom. Oh, I see now. So yeah, that was definitely a problem. So here's the negative lead. Square is 40. So if you go from there to there with like a 47, which is the modern number that's near 40. And if you go from there to there with a 22, which is the modern number that's near 20. And I did 200 just because that's what I had. And I think, you know, it can't hurt to go a little bit higher. Okay, yeah, so I'm going to do the same thing, though. I'm going to bring it up slow because there are caps in here. And one of these over here is actually a cap. That's a cap, I think. And then this is a cap. You know, so we're trying to just bring them up slow. So we're still going to bring it up slow. But we'll see if we're getting the same buzz just right off the start. Okay, so I think we're all still plugged in. We're at 0 volts. Power's on, volume's turned up just a little bit. Let me go up to like 40 or 30. It went up a little bit, right? Then went back down. Let's go a little higher. We were already up to 50 before when we were getting the buzz. So we're actually at 60 now. And I'm getting nothing on this amp meter, but it says at 117 volts, it's 30 watts. We do have a little bit of glow, and I do hear some kind of amplification. Yeah. So we don't have our buzz now. We might, I doubt the oscillator is working at 50 volts, but we'll try.
No.
Yep.
But at the time,
so it's working at 50 volts.
it seemed like the right thing to do.
And this thing is accurate. We checked it all. It's accurate as crap. So this thing is working at 50 volts. But we don't know if the amp meter is working. Ammeter.
Anybody with a mustard bottle, okay? And that was Jim Johnson again.
Now you can see it moving with the volume.
In Rogers, Minnesota. And my goodness, what storytelling here. We met Pat, we met Donnie. We met an ecosystem, and we all work with people who are different than us.
All right, we're going to turn the voltage up a little bit. We're at maybe 0.1, something like that. So let's go up to 80.
We'll come to you within 24 hours so our team can get to work right away. Wherever you are, whenever you want. Our goal is to get you as much as you deserve. Call us now as the time.
Okay, that's 80 volts.
May be limited.
Call 1-800-602-3300. 1-800-602-3300. That's 1-800-602-3300. Call now.
With the holidays upon us, the increase in...
So the purpose of this, the reason I've got this isn't so that I can make sure that it's exactly at 0.25 volt amps. I'm trying to make sure that it doesn't go way up, you know, and start, like if it pegs all the way up to 1 amp, well, this, you know, something's wrong. It's supposed to be 0.25 amps. Something must be horribly shorted, right? So at 80 volts, it sounds fine. Our electrolytic caps are out. I don't even know if you need to reform a disc cap, a ceramic cap. So let's go a little higher.
Now at your local Target. While you're there, check out our newest
You can
phone, the Iris Flip.
watch this as it goes and see if we get
Plus,
anything.
It features a user-friendly design, making it the perfect flip phone. From now to December 16th, you can score $10 off when you buy the Consumer Cellular Iris Flip at Target, making it only $39.99. Visit your nearest Target.
Okay, so that's probably pretty close.
Ringing the new year
to the 117 that it says on the back. And we are up over 0.2, so that's probably about right. Let's see if we can get any other stations. We're getting one station.
Call 1-800-GIVE-LIFE or visit givelife.org to schedule your appointment to give blood. WBC-FM Chester, WLNK-HD Tucson. News Talk 1110, 99.3.
Okay, so I am getting other channels that the volume is just really low. This one is, like I said, it's a clear channel, very powerful at night. It's late, and but remember I substituted that one 12BA6 for a 12AU6. The difference between them is the what do they call it? The AVC, automatic volume control. Is that what AVC stands for? Basically, it has to do with just that. So it should be, I believe, lowering the volume of the really strong stations and raising the volume of the really weak stations. That tube is designed to do that with an external circuit that remotely does it, right? This circuit is so simple that it needs the 12AU6 to do it automatically, right? So it's working. It's just not working very good because I need that correct tube. All right, I brought out the signal generator and I'm sending a 455 into the general area of it. And I've got it about as good as it can get. It's only got that one little stage. I mean, this just isn't a great reception radio, I don't think. I did swap in a 12AU6. I found one. But I'm going to mount it back in and just see if with the antenna mounted how it is, if I can turn the radio to get a little better reception. It could just be that the way I've got the antenna set up right now, it's not that great. But I think I've got it tuned about as good as I can get it with the RF adjustment. I mean, the IF adjustment and the antenna adjustment. I don't know about tracking because I haven't put the knob back on it yet. But I'm not super concerned about it. I think I'm only going to get a couple channels anyways. All right, so it doesn't get hardly anything. I'm getting something at about 690 or something, but I can't get WSM 650 out of Nashville, which is a clear channel station. So it's, if you've got a halfway decent radio, usually you can get it pretty good. This one, I can't hear a peep though.
Our experienced team of nephrologists, renal nurses, and social workers offer chronic dialysis services in a comfortable and modern setting. Our experienced team
so that's at about
individual needs of patients and their families, all in one location.
820.
Valet parking's available. Let Queens Long Island Renal Institute be there for you and your family. For more information, visit QLIRI.org. That's QLIRI.org.
Over the years, you've brought them into your home.
That said it's something out of New York, so I don't know. Maybe we're all right.
After Dad's back injury.
A life of purpose in me. I love you, my child. Come back. And with that, a door opened just a crack. Enough for a small stream of light to come through.
What in the world?
Light that would... Before Triangle Freight. Join the millions of listeners on the iHeartRadio app. Free, never sounded so good. Welcome back to the Talk Show. Up next, we have Mika, Rod, and And as soon as I realized
Okay.
what it was,
Now, we are at about
and I dove through the window that was open.
990 or something like that.
And I'm running into
WBT is here in town. It's about 4 miles from me. It's WBT 1110. The signal is so strong on most of my radios, it just overpowers everything. So I don't know. I might run into this over and over again. But we're at 990, and I think it's already tuning in WBT. And it'll tune it in all the way up to like 1200. It's so strong. I don't know. Surely you should be able to make it more sensitive than that. But I've had about 5 radios that are like that. So as you go in, it'll get louder and louder until it's just got crazy volume because the signal's so strong.
the diameter of this thing was a couple of 100 feet. It was huge.
So that's about dead on 1110.
And as we are just standing there watching, nobody thought to take a picture of this. I mean, the only thing we had back then would have been a Polaroid or a Brownie Instamatic or something. But we were just in awe.
I think it's coast to coast.
Of this thing not making a sound.
So I guess that's dead
just
on.
hovering there. And all
I'm going to turn it all the way up just to see what kind of volume it's got.
Man, am I going to have to take a dump here? I felt like, I felt my guts moving. And it was before
Tons of volume.
I hear the audible tone, I could feel the vibrations of the tone that this machine was making. And it
And see there, it's repeating again at like 1450. I had another one that did that too. You'd think that's got to be some kind of alignment thing.
Mother said,
After 12 seasons. To get this out there now changes everything,
The streaming service Max announced that the final season of the Larry
So it's not super sensitive. Selective. But it's working. It just, you might be able to, somebody that really knew what they were doing might be able to adjust it in a little better. But I think it just wasn't designed for that. I think it's just a city radio, and it's not designed to get reception from all over the place. We did get New York, though, didn't we? Somewhere.
But as Stephen learned in today's episode, things that are seen don't last forever. 2 Corinthians 4:18 states, central bank would cut interest rates as soon as March.
So, we're getting stuff, but I think that's all she's got, folks. So I guess we'll leave it at that. At least we fixed it. And I think I learned a little something. Like I learned that if they look good on the top, the bottom might be blown out. Look at that. Look at that. All right, so I'm going to put it on the shelf. I have another shelf I have to put up. I'm going to put another shelf there with the smaller radios on it. So I'll put this one on there. And if I turn it, the antenna doesn't really help. 880 News. And the thing where you get your hand near it and the capacitance of your hand helps the antenna. It is what it is. Yes, I'm gonna put up another shelf, and I'm gonna put it up there, you know. And I got to put my channel master up there too. So there you go, folks. I hope you enjoyed it. I had a little fun doing it. It's getting pretty close to Christmas, so we'll have a Christmas Eve video, I think, next week on Ammeter Repair Time. So make sure not to miss it. And I hope you enjoyed it. Leave your comments below. Let me know what you think about this baby. Did you ever see one of these before back in the day? Make sure to check out my brother Donnie's channel. He's the one that found the thing for me. It's not the greatest radio in the world, but I knew that going in, you know. And, you know, if I want to listen to WBT, which is the local channel,
Pictures of the ruin.
I mean, we got that covered.
But
The way I usually listen to WBT, since it's 4 miles away and it's a 50,000 watt channel, is I just wrap this around my finger and hold it up in the air, and I can hear it in my ear usually.
that close to something, and there's no denying.
But make sure to check out Donnie's channel. The link is down below, the My Brother Donnie channel. Tuesday, we are going to be back with our latest episode on our Blue Skies pinball machine. I'm excited about getting that one working. So, no, not Tuesday, Monday. So Monday, tomorrow. Tomorrow we'll see you on the Blue Skies video. If you're into old stuff, you'd probably love that old pinball machine. But we'll see you back here next week where I think we might do a clock video. We'll see you then. Hope you enjoyed it.